On today's question of faith, how did your Lenten resolutions go? Hey everybody, this is Question of Faith. I am Mike Hayes. I am the Young Adult Ministry Director here in the diocese.
And I'm Father Damian Ferentz, Vicar for Evangelization.
And I'm Maria Wancata with the Communications team.
Cool. So, hey, we all were here when we started making our Lenten, what we were going to give up for Lent, all of our Lenten resolutions. And so we thought we'd check in and say, well, how'd it go? Who wants to start? You gave up the elevator, if I remember right, Maria.
I gave up the elevator, and it was tough. It was tough. There were definitely days that I did not feel like climbing all those stairs, but in the end, it ended up being a very fruitful exercise.
And so to speak.
Yes.
And you're on the 6th floor here,
Sixth
right?
floor. I think it's about 110 stairs going all the way up.
Do you have stairs in your home, too?
Yes.
Just the front walk, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, it was good. Overall, I got to meet new people that work here by taking the stairs. I definitely noticed that when I was by myself, it was harder. But if I was walking up with someone, it went very quickly. So I think it's something I'm going to keep doing.
Cool. You inspired me a little bit. I live in a condo. I'm on the 5th floor, so I tend to take the stairs there. I don't tend to take the stairs here. I'm not really sure why. Probably because I'm in a rush here more often than I am when I'm at home. Yeah. But I've definitely been taking the stairs at home now for the most part.
I will say, even if you're in a rush going down, I've beaten people taking the elevator down by just taking the stairs.
Oh, yeah, going down for sure.
Yeah,
going up, not so much. Yeah. So, Father, what about you?
Well, if you recall, I gave up alcohol for Lent, which was good. I did it with an exception. The exception was that I did drink non-alcoholic beer, and some non-alcoholic beer has less than 0.5% alcohol. So Heineken is 0.0, and I never had non-alcoholic beer before. I actually went down for a few days to Boynton Beach. St. Vincent de Paul Seminary, one of the guys I studied with in Rome, teaches there. So I went down to visit him, and we used to have a drink at the end of the night, and I thought, well, I'll drink non-alcoholic beer, and so I did, and it was pretty good. It was something. It was better than just drinking water with him, and I did that a few times, but it was good. And then on Easter night, I had a Manhattan with one of the Capuchins at the seminary at the end of the night, and that was good. It was a good way to celebrate the resurrection.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think it was a good discipline. I've done it before. I'll probably do it again, so it was good.
Very nice. So I did do the whole 30. I had some ups and downs with it. I will say it was not as good as it was last year. Last year I lost about 35 pounds during whole 30. This year I lost 10, though, so better than gaining, number one. And 10 pounds is 10 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So that went well. I kept the fast. I always would forget on a Friday, constantly. This has been all my life. I'd get to Friday and I'd forget that it was Friday. Not forget that I'm supposed to be fasting, just forget that it was Friday. And this year I actually made it all the way through without forgetting. So it's good.
That's good.
And more importantly, I went to my doctor and it was just a regular checkup, and they said, I need you to go get some blood work done. So I said, sure. And my blood work has never been better.
Nice.
Oh, wow, excellent.
So whatever I'm doing in terms of dieting is certainly working. My triglycerides went way down, and I mean way, from 180 to 130. So it's in the level where it should be now.
Cool.
So good. So that's good. And I'm starting to exercise more now. Thank you, Maria. The stairs started. I have a little treadmill in my house now, so we're doing that. My wife does it in the morning. I do it in the evening. So that's all starting out. So good. So not bad. So I always think about my friend whose name is also Michael, who after Easter he gave up chocolate and all kind of sugary sweet kind of things for Lent. And at the end of the Easter vigil, he ate, I'm not kidding, 12 chocolate bunnies.
Oh my gosh.
And then he came over and was like, hey Mike, it's a really great Easter, isn't it? It's so wonderful to be here. Everything's going on. I was like, dude, back it up, And I was like, you kind of missed the point.
Yeah.
Well, it was Matt Maher, the singer-songwriter, Catholic artist. He posted something, I don't know if it was on his story or if it was on Instagram. I could see if I could pull it up, but it was a quote from John Chrysostom about the resurrection. And even if you fail during your feast, like it is time to celebrate. I'll see if I could pull it up as we're chatting here.
That's fine. Yeah.
It was a really cool post. And I thought, because he didn't reveal who wrote it at first. And then as time went on, he did. And
the guys at Grapevine wrote something about that this week too. I'm going to see if I could find that as well. But they were saying, like, if you consider what happened for Lent a failure.
Yeah, first and last alike receive your reward. Rich and poor rejoice together. Sober and slothful celebrate the day. You that have kept the fast and you that have not, rejoice today, for the table is richly laden. I think that's really beautiful. Feast royally on it. The calf is a fattened one. Let no one go away hungry. Partake all of the cup of faith. Enjoy all the riches of his goodness. Let no one grieve at his poverty. And on and on. And it's a rather lengthy quote, but it comes from a sermon from John Chrysostom around 400 AD, which is pretty rad.
Yeah. Our friend Anthony Mancini at Grapevine said this. He said, well, while I didn't perfect the areas of prayer I was looking to perfect, I did improve my prayer. He goes, I didn't accomplish the perfect modern monastic lifestyle. He goes, but I did improve, so that's a win. So Lent was a win. I aimed high, I missed low, but I ended up higher than when I started. I'm calling on those of you like me who may have, quote, failed at Lent. Don't be too hard on yourselves for what you didn't accomplish. Focus more on what you did accomplish and keep those habits going on life. And this is the part I really liked. He said, next Lent, you could focus on the things you didn't focus on so much the first time around. And maybe a few dozen Lents from now, you might look something like a saint. Who knows?
That's great.
That's nice.
Yeah, I like that. I tried, I also did the Hallow 40 Days challenge, and I did not complete all 40 days. I'd say the past couple weeks it got really tough at night to do it. But I did find myself Easter Sunday night going to bed like, what am I going to do tonight? Because I didn't have that anymore. So I think even though I didn't do it every night, I did start to build that habit that I did want to do it at night.
Yeah.
So
the church is so wise in celebrating Lent, not just for the catechumens, who originally it was intended for. So many of the prayers of the church during the penitential season are for them specifically, but that all of us participate to do this one more time and renew our commitment to the faith and practice something bodily, not just spiritually, because we're both body, spirit creatures, and benefit from it, and then be able to celebrate. So the fasting and the feasting. You know, we live in a culture that wants to say you can have anything you want all the time in whatever way you want, and when you never fast, then you really don't appreciate a good feast. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
My friends over at the Bridegroom Monastery, the Byzantine sisters, they take they're serious fasters. They make me look like a wimp. But they don't take oil, fats. I mean, very strict during Lent. But man, when they celebrate, and it's wonderful to see, and it's beautiful. So it's good to have those monastic communities who go hardcore to remind the rest of us who can't or don't that people are doing it, and it sets the standard. Okay, maybe I can't do that, but I can at least do this, and that's good.
Yeah.
Kind of like Anthony was saying in his post.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, it's really good. The other thing I did actually. So as part of formation, I do field education in a parish, and one of the assignments I had was to at least twice go to the RCIA group in the parish and either lead a lesson or assist in leading a lesson, something along those lines. And so I ended up doing that about 4 times over the course of the year, but twice during the sort of the spring semester, if you would. And I found myself continuing to go back even though I wasn't leading the lesson. Like I would accompany either Father Kevin or Max Hall, who's the RCIA director. And I really got a lot of joy out of just being there. You know, just kind of sitting there and accompanying. Every once in a while, maybe they'd say, "Hey, Mike, got anything to add to that?" You know, but a lot of times, no. A lot of times, I just kind of sat there and kind of listened and kind of heard their stories and accompanied them. And so, it was really joyous to kind of see them come into the church on the Easter Vigil. Well,
I know you're on Twitter. Are you on Twitter, Maria? You're on Twitter too. Okay. One of the greatest things about the social media around this time of year is when people are posting, "I'm a Catholic now," or "I entered into the church," and there's such joyful stories, or "I was away and I received Eucharist for the first time," and it is like I mean, there's imagery there of the baptismal font being the womb and Christ himself, when blessing the womb, that the two are coming together and bringing new children into this, into the church, and Mother Church is giving birth. And to see this, it's exciting. It's like when there's a new baby in the family, when there's new Catholics in the church, it's reason to celebrate. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and you had a particular experience this year in bringing someone into the church. Correct?
Yeah, so Patrick Warner, who found the Catholic Church through your social media posts, came to the first night of 9 Nights of Night Prayer. I met him at John Canchis in Tremont in August. It would have been August 7th. He was the only person there who never prayed night prayer before. It turns out wasn't Catholic, Baptist. And then I saw him the last night of 9 Nights of Night Prayer at St. Michael the Archangel. And he wanted to talk to me after that, maybe about RCIA, so we met for coffee in Tremont. And long story short, he joined RCIA at St. Michael's, and then asked me to be his confirmation sponsor. I couldn't make the rite of enrollment and election, so Claudia, Cabrera was there, and she acted as proxy. So we both had our hands on his shoulders at the Easter Vigil when he made his profession of faith and received Eucharist for the first time. And there were probably 30 or 40 young adults, a lot from Grapevine or Catching Fire, who were there at St. Michael's. And I don't think they expected the Mass to be bilingual, but I think they were surprisingly joyful about that fact, because there's a lot of additions. The Hispanic community at St. Michael's is pretty charismatic. So in the beginning of his homily, like Father Riley said, he is risen. And a couple of people were like, truly is risen. Then he said, Vivo Cristo Rey. And they're like, ah! And clapping. And oh my gosh, you felt the joy of the resurrection in there. And even during the elevations in the Eucharistic prayer, they do praise and adoration sayings. Yeah. So when when you usually hear the Sanctus bells, which they have there, but then were you telling me they were saying my Lord and my God?
My Lord and my God, the Thomas prayer, yeah, or at least that's what I know that they do that in Nicaragua, because I was there and I went to Mass there and everyone was kneeling down, and all of a sudden he raises the host, and all of a sudden I hear people starting to talk, and they raise the host, and he says it again, and I listened a little carefully. And my Spanish isn't good, but I understand more than I can speak, and I was like, oh, they're saying my Lord and my God. I got it.
I see.
It's like,
the other thing they had at St. Michael's, if you're facing the altar to the left, there's usually a set of pews there, but during special seasons, that's where they set up their nativity scene. And for Easter, there was a big white curtain there. And it was just a big white curtain until the Gloria, when everybody's lighting the candles and the bells are ringing. And then the curtain came down, and there's a dramatic statue of the risen Lord there. And it was awesome. So you've seen some of that stuff on Insta or social media, but it was cool to see it in person. And the bilingual Mass really highlighted some of aspects of Catholicism that you wouldn't get in a one language liturgy, I thought.
That's nice. Yeah. We'll have to think about, I always think about, what are the little things that you could add that are not outside of liturgy that will make a big difference.
That there's options, in that way, it reminds me of World Youth Days, which were very formative for me when you're celebrating with people from all around the world. It gives you a sense of universality. That was really cool. And, of course, St. Michael's is one of the most beautiful churches in the whole diocese.
Absolutely,
and a lot of those young adults were just looking up the whole time at the statues and the altar and the colors, and it's gorgeous in there.
I said to someone, you can walk in there and start counting statues, and you might still be in there like 4 hours later.
There's a couple hundred for sure.
Yeah. For sure. It's great. We should put some pictures. I have some pictures from when we did 9 nights there. I'll try to put those up on in the show notes. But if you get a chance, go down there. That's probably my favorite church in the diocese, I think, is St. Michael's.
It's in my top 3. I'll tell you a cool story that happened, too. So on the way in, we started outside, and Father Mark Riley blessed the Easter fire. And then from the Easter fire, took the taper and then lit the Easter candle. And then we were going to walk, so it would have been east, toward the front of the church and then head in. And he said this in his homily, so it's not breaking any confidence. As they're walking in, the candle went out.
Oops.
And then so he went in his pocket to get the Bic lighter, and I told him, don't cheat. So come on back, and then let's get the fire again. And we tried it, and then it blew out again, so we decided to go in the side door. But he worked that into his homily, and he told the people, when the candle went out, I wanted to use my Bic, and Father Damien's back there saying, don't cheat. And he said as he was going through the scripture readings, he was thinking what a good symbol that is, that when our fire goes out, we have to go back to the fire. Like we don't create our own source. And that was cool that on the fly, he worked that into the homily. And I've been thinking about that too. Like sometimes when our lights go out, we want to save ourselves. No, we've got to go back to the source. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's nice. And good preaching on the fly there.
Yeah. He's definitely praying through the liturgy when that come up with that kind of symbolism.
Exactly, yeah. All right, so that's all good. Anything else that we missed with our Lenten experiences?
I don't think so. Just one thing about Patrick came and spoke at our parish during our Lenten speaker series. I'd say
at St. Rocco's?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
A lot of young adults were there. He got a standing ovation. It was so moving, and I think in welcoming new people at the Easter Vigil, it reinvigorates in yourself, like why we believe what we believe, how it helps us, and it's a renewal for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Listening sometimes renews our hearts when we hear the stories of these people who are coming back and what's on their heart as they enter the church again, right?
I don't know what this is like for married people, but I know for a priest, when I go to an ordination, it reminds me of my vows and it renews me. So I imagine that's similar.
My wife and I hold hands during every single wedding and sort of say, like, I do.
Well, then I think that's similar when you see someone baptized. Maybe if we didn't remember it, but man, this is what our faith is about, right?
Yeah.
So to see someone else go through the sacrament renews the sacrament within us.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And like on all things, both in ordination and in marriage, I think, we're called as the ones who are witnessing this to, well, one, witness it, and then number two, to support the people who are making these vows so that we're part of that. We're part of helping people live out their married life and their priestly life. And, it's not just about them contributing to each other or the priesthood contributing to the parish.
Right.
It's about us supporting each other along the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Vero.
See. So church this week, we'll go to St. Stephen's in Cleveland. What do we know about St. Stephen's other than it's beautiful, right?
Well, it's a rival, traditionally it's a rival German parish to St. Michael's, the parish we just talked about. And I know this little tidbit, that the pastor of St. Stephen's wanted to one-up the pastor of St. Michael's. So the statues at St. Stephen's are hollow, and the statues at St. Michael's are hollow, and the statues at St. Stephen's are solid.
Oh.
I know that's a distinction between the two because he wanted to one-up the other guy. But they're both gorgeous.
Can't you guys just
beautiful.
Duke it out and be done with it?
Well, there's always a little bit of
friendly competition.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. And there'll probably be, we just did that 7-church walk. I think they'll be on the list for the next 7-church walk next year.
I think so.
What we're
It'd be
talking
great.
about. So that'd be great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then our readings for May 1st, so it's John 21, where it's Simon, do you love me is the first thing, right? Mm-hmm. I think most people will pick out of that. And I often say the saddest words in all of Scripture, I'm going fishing, which happens before he says, Peter gets up and says, I'm going fishing. Maybe the second saddest words of all Scriptures, we're going with you. Right afterwards. Disciples just head back to their sort of former way of life, and it's there when they encounter the Lord.
And you've heard my parish mission, Mike. I have a special focus on Peter because he makes a lot of mistakes, and the beautiful thing is we hear about them, and then we hear how it is that the Lord renews him and heals him. He doesn't blow him off and say, okay, now I'm giving the church to John. No, do you love me? And then he enters into Peter's life and recreates him and then sends him out to be another Jesus in the world. I just love it.
Yeah. Every time I mess something up in ministry, I think, oh, God, I'm such a horrible minister. Why did I do that? Or why did I do this? Or, I deserve what happened to me. Or, all those kinds of things. I always go back to Peter and say, no, wait a minute. If you want to be a good disciple, look at everything the disciples did, and then don't do those things because they're really bad. Mm-hmm. One betrays him, one denies him, one, it's all kinds of things. And I always look at Peter and say, at the end of the day, Jesus still comes back to him and offers him something else again. Offers him not only the chance to make amends, but also, the chance to move forward. And, he's the one we remember and revere, and we hold up the leader of our church as the successor of Peter today. So
I've often thought that Peter and Judas's sins are equally grave, and the big difference is that Peter believed he could be forgiven, and Judas didn't.
Yeah.
Even though John Paul II in Crossing the Threshold of Hope says that even Judas, who betrayed Jesus, we can't be assured that he's in hell, even though Dante puts him there because of God's mercy. But yeah, they both sinned gravely, but Peter trusted that Jesus could recreate him.
That's right.
Yeah, you see in the scriptures today that Peter was truly sorry, and Jesus asked him 3 times, and the third time John notes his frustration and Jesus asking him again, but it shows that his true repentance. He's truly sorry.
I think the Greek is also, the first 2 are like agape. Do you agape me? Do you agape me? And then the last one is philios. Do you love me like as a brother? And he could say yes to that because he didn't think he was capable of loving him the way that God loved him, So it's beautiful. It's a great scene.
Always good. So pay attention to Peter in the Gospel this coming Sunday, and we'll pay attention to you in our prayer. Hope that you'll pay attention to us in your prayer as well. And we'll have this and a whole lot more next week on Another Question of Faith.